Hi, this is Rochelle with Scrapcraftastic, and I am going to show you how to make a pocket folder for a standard size traveler's notebook. I have templates on my website at scrapcraftastic.com for, I believe, B6, A6, personal size, pocket size, and micro. However, because of paper size issues as far as cutting with a Cameo or even a Cricut, I think Cricut cuts 8.5 by 11, Cameo cuts 12 by 12. However, Cameo doesn't truly cut 12 by 12, at least I don't think so. The cut border is a little bit smaller. And being that you need the whole 12 length of the paper for a standard size pocket folder, I cannot create a cut file that will actually work. But I can show you how to make a pocket folder manually, which I have done repeatedly for other sizes, but I'm going to go ahead and show you quickly how to make the standard or regular size traveler's notebook pocket folder. I'm not going to do the laminated version. If you would like to laminate yours, the link will be above and below to show you how to laminate it if you so choose. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, you're going to need a piece of 12 by 12 paper. Since I'm doing this for this notebook, I am going to stick with the papers that I've been using for this. It's probably best to have double-sided paper, but I don't have any. So I'm going to work with what I have. But I am going to try and pick something that I like. It's also best not to use a printed, a text or script pattern unless you're okay with it being upside down on the flaps. I'm not really okay with that, so I try to steer clear of that. I really don't want to use this gold or that pink. I may end up just using something plain like this that you can barely even tell there's a pattern on it. And possibly decorate the outside, maybe. Let's do that. So I'm just going to use this standard inch measurements for this. I'm not going to even get into centimeters. The way I design my inserts for this notebook, I just left them at 8.5 tall and 4 1/4 wide. Technically, this is the original notebook that came with this. This notebook is, I'm pretty sure, 4.33 inches wide and 8.25 inches long. Yep. But to save on cutting, for me, it's easier to measure at 8.25 than, at 4.25 than 4.33. And having to cut off 1/8 of an inch on either end or 1/4 inch on the bottom or top is just not worth the trouble. It still fits in there fine, so I just left it as is. If you want to make yours shorter, you are welcome to do so, but I'm okay with it. So with that in mind, each side of the folder needs to be 4 1/4 inches plus a 1/2 inch on each side for a flap. So 4 1/4 is 8.5 plus 1/2 inch, that's 9.5. So I need to cut my paper to 9.5 inches wide. And this paper is so lightly tech patterned, I can barely tell. So we're gonna go with 9.5 inches wide, and we're gonna keep our 12-inch length. Okay. Now we are going to do some scoring. Get out my scoreboard. So now I'm going to go ahead and score in the middle at 4 3/4 or 4.75. That's the middle of our folder. Then I'm going to score at 1/2 inch on the left side. And you can score at 9 on the right or flip it around like I like to do, because it's easier for me to score on the left and score at 1/2 inch. Doesn't matter, you can do it either way as long as you end up with 2 1/2 inch scores on either side. And I'm going to go ahead and score on both sides of the paper. Since this is kind of a thicker paper, you don't have to do this. Okay, so this will fold this way. Now I'm going to go ahead and score where my flaps would fall. Again, the height is, I left at 8.5. If you want to be precise about the size of your traveler's notebook, then it would be a different measurement. But I'm going to stick with the 8.5. Now the pockets on this are going to be a little shorter than the other notebooks because you only have 12 inches of paper to work with. So that is all the scoring for now. I can make this a double pocket. We'll get into that after we finish the outside portion. Now what I'm going to do is decide how big of a triangle I want for my pocket. This is so that when you fold, let's see, I don't have one close by, but when you fold your pocket folder, this is a B6. When you fold it, these two don't touch and rub up against each other. It also makes it easier to get things in and out of the pocket. So let's see, how wide did I make these? I think it's like a 1/2 inch. I don't know, it's 3/4 inch almost. Yeah. Okay, so since I did it that big on that one, I'm going to do it that big on this one. So what I'm going to do is find my center, which is here. Let me use my clear ruler so you can see better maybe. And I'm going to measure 3/4 inch on either side of the center. Let's just make sure this is pretty straight. 3/4 inch. 3/4 inch on either side. So that gives me 1.5 inch gap. Then I'm going to find the center where the score that makes the pocket and the center score meet. And I'm just going to make a little tick mark there and connect these dots. This way I get a precise triangle, or as precise as I can get it, doing it manually. Okay, also these flaps are going to be cut off. We don't need this bottom part. The part, oops, the part of the flap below the folds, the pocket fold score mark. So this is where I want to measure. This part you don't have to do. This is just me trying to be as precise as possible. I'm going to measure 1/4 inch and mark where I'm going to miter that edge so that when I get ready to fold it, it folds nice and clean. And just marking where I'm going to cut that off at. And again, I'm measuring at the fold where the pocket, at the score mark where the pocket folds. And I'm just measuring 1/4 inch and connecting that 1/4 inch to where the two score lines meet. So these two go, and this triangle in the center here goes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those away. Not sure I cut this one quite right. Let's clean it up. There we go. Okay, so this is where we are now. I'm going to go ahead and make my folds. So I'm going to fold these bottom pockets up. Give it a good burnish. Another pocket up. Burnish. Now, I'm going to fold over my side flaps. Let's do the same on this side. Then I'm going to do my center fold, make sure everything lines up. Give my folds a good burnish. Let's get the scraps out of the way. Okay, so now you could go ahead and add your adhesive on the two flaps if you wanted to, but I like to keep this little 1/2 inch of space for my pocket. So what I do is go ahead and measure a little triangle that I cut away here. So I know I put a little tick mark where the folder meets that side score line on both sides. Then from that, I use my center finding ruler, find the center. We'll put the 0 on that score mark. And I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch miter here. So I'm just going to measure 1/8 of an inch. Or do I want to keep? I want to keep it consistent. So I'm going to do a 1/2 inch triangle. So I measured a 1/4 inch on either side of the 0. You could do 1/8 of an inch if you want. It's all up to you. Once you get the basic size of the folder, you can customize it and make it however you want. As you don't even have, like I said, you don't even have to do this part if you don't want to. So I'm just going to connect the dots. So I'm going to cut these two away. Okay. So now we have our bottom flaps that cover the bottom pockets. And when you stick something in your pocket, once it's glued down, you can put it all the way to the edge instead of it stopping right there. So now I'm going to show you how to cut the inside piece, this piece. And we've got to pick out another piece of paper. Let's see what color we want. I think I'm going to use this. It kind of matches. So to cut this out, basically you're doing the inside measurement of this rectangular, well, squarish shape. So I know this is 8.5 wide because these two are 4.25 each, and the height is 8.5. So that is what I'm going to cut my paper for the double pocket at, 8.5 by 8.5. So get out my cutter. And as far as the width is, you could probably cut it a little shorter than 8.5 wide to allow for the fold over of the paper. So I'm just going to go with 8 3/8. That gives me, yeah, 8 3/8. That gives me a little wiggle room on either side. So, and I'm going to actually cut the length a hair shorter, again, to allow for that fold of the paper. So now we have our centerpiece. You could score it. I'm not going to even go through that. I'm just going to fold it in half carefully and use my scoring tool to make a nice good crease. Now you can use a circle punch and punch a hole in the center of either side of your pocket. It'll make it a little easier to get things in and out of the pocket. You can cut it in triangular shape, kind of similar to what is done here. You can just cut it at an angle like that. And I think I'm going to try it that way this time. All of them I've done with a circular design. I'm using a circle punch. I'm just going to try something different. Let us do it a different way. I'm going to cut down 1 inch from the top and give my actually I'm just going to take a blade and cut it at an angle, and so my pocket will be angled. I hope this doesn't mess things up. I'm trying something new here. So I'm just going to take my blade and cut that part off. Now, let's slide this in here. And there we have our pocket. So when you fold it, you'll have a pocket on either side. So that works. I'm okay with that. So let's make sure this is in all the way down in here, centered well. Then you take an adhesive of your choice. I'm going to use the Art Glitter Glue. And make sure everything is lined up properly. I'm going to add a little glue. I'm going to add a little glue to my bottom flap. Be sure it's lined up so that everything will fold and lay flat nicely. Okay. Let's give that a chance to adhere. Oops. Add a little glue to the other side. Okay. I don't know why it ran over like that, but let's not waste any glue. Again, make sure this is laying down properly. Glue that in place. Add glue to this last flap. gonna burnish again just to make sure everything is folded together nicely. Make sure working that glue into place. And there you have it, a nice pocket folder. I probably should have mitered these edges a little bit since I went with this angled pocket, or maybe started my angle at a different point. But to alleviate that problem, what I will do is take my corner rounder and round the corners at the top. And that helps with that. You could also use a hole punch or a corner rounder to put a little hole. I'm going to use the a hole punch to show you. I don't think I've done this way before. Just take a hole punch and punch half a circle right in the fold to alleviate some of the stress on the paper caused by the bands. So you see that a small little circle there cut out, and you can do the same on the bottom. So you can either use a corner rounder to do that, round it the other way, or use the hole punch. I thought the hole punch was a nice idea if you didn't want a big 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch corner round there. And then I can just stick this in. I'm going to stick it around both of these books. Oops. If I can get this in here. Oops. So that will fit around both of them. And yep, I have a pocket on either side. And that's it. That's how you would make a folder for a standard size traveler's notebook. I also made these dashboards that are reusable. You can take the paper in and out, change it when you're ready, and not have to just re-laminate over and over again to make dashboards. So if you're interested in making those, I will link below. I also have a video on how to cut your own inserts, make your own inserts, which is what I've done here with just some grid paper. This is using some printable inserts from my website. This is a week on 4 pages, so you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on 1 page together for the weekend. And I'm about to put together a monthly insert. This is also available on my website at Scrapcraftastic.com. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.